deeply infatuated with the art and craft of writing. They weren't written as Bachman books per se. Bachman hadn't been invented yet, after all, but in a Bachman state of mind. Low rage, sexual frustration, crazy good humor, and simmering despair. Ben Richards, the scrawny, pre-tubercular protagonist of The Running Man, he is about as far from the Arnold Schwarzenegger character in the movie as you can get, crashes his hijacked plane into the network game skyscraper, killing himself, but taking hundreds, maybe thousands, of Free-V executives with him. This is the Richard Bachman version of a happy ending. The conclusions of the other Bachman novels are even more grim. Stephen King has always understood that the good guys don't always win. See Cujo, Pet Sematary, and, perhaps, Christine. But he has also understood that mostly they do. Every day in real life, the good guys win. Mostly these victories go unheralded. Man arrives home safe from work yet again wouldn't sell many papers. But they are nonetheless real for all that, and fiction should reflect reality. And yet, in the first draft of The Dark Half, I had Thad Beaumont quote Donald E. Westlake, a very funny writer who has penned a series of very grim crime novels under the name Richard Stark. Once asked to explain the dichotomy between Westlake and Stark, the writer in question said, "I write Westlake stories on sunny days. When it rains, I'm Stark." I don't think that made it into the final version of The Dark Half, but I have always loved it and related to it, as it has become fashionable to say. Bachman, a fictional creation who became more real to me with each published book which bore his byline, was a rainy day sort of guy, if ever there was one. The good folks mostly win. Courage usually triumphs over fear. The family dog hardly ever contracts rabies. These are things I knew at 25, and things I still know now, at the age of 25 times 2. But I know something else as well. There's a place in most of us where the rain is pretty much constant. The shadows are always long, and the woods are full of monsters. It is good to have a voice in which the terrors of such a place can be articulated and its geography partially described, without denying the sunshine and clarity that fill so much of our ordinary lives. In Thinner, Bachman spoke for the first time on his own. It was the only one of the early Bachman novels that had his name on the first draft instead of mine. And it struck me as really unfair that just as he was starting to talk with his own voice, he should have been mistaken for me. And a mistake was just what it felt like, because by then Bachman had become a kind of id for me. He said the things I couldn't, and the thought of him out there on his New Hampshire dairy farm, not a best-selling writer who gets his name in some stupid Forbes list of entertainers too rich for their own good, or his face on the Today Show, or doing cameos in movies, quietly writing his books gave him permission to think in ways I could not think, and speak in ways I could not speak. And then these news stories came out saying Bachman is really king, and there was no one, not even me, to defend the dead man, or to point out the obvious, that King was also really Bachman, at least some of the time. Unfair I thought then, and unfair I think now, but sometimes life bites you a little, that's all. I determined to put Bachman out of my thoughts and my life, and so I did. For a number of years. Then while I was writing a novel, a Stephen King novel, called Desperation, Richard Bachman suddenly appeared in my life again. I was working on a Wang-dedicated word processor at that time. It looked like the Visiphone in an old Flash Gordon serial. This was paired with a marginally more state-of-the-art laser printer, and from time to time, when an idea occurred to me, I would write down a phrase or a putative title on a scrap of paper and scotch tape it to the side of the printer. As I neared the 3/4 mark on Desperation, I had a scrap with a single word printed on it: regulators. I had had a great idea for a novel, something that had to do with toys, guns, TV, and suburbia.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.